Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we're going to be looking at Watch Dogs Legion and how it performs on PC with a 6-year-old processor. I have the i7 6700K, but we're pairing it with an RTX 3080. So it's going to be a very interesting combination because we have a top-of-the-line, except for the 3090 of course, we have a top-of-the-line brand new graphics card that's only been out for like a month. Super hard to get your hands on, along with a 6-year-old processor. The i7 6700K only has like 4 cores and 8 threads. Still a good CPU. Still a really good CPU. It's still holding its own in some games, especially now that I have the 3080 installed. It definitely is holding its own. But it's going to be interesting to see how a brand new graphics card pairs with a brand new game with a 6-year-old processor. Like, how much is that 6-year-old processor really going to hold you back? So along with that, I've got 16 gigabytes of 3200 megahertz at CL16 RAM, and that's all pretty much the important stuff. So we are currently running the game at 1080p 144 Hz because that's my default resolution and refresh rate, because I do have a 1080p 144 Hz monitor. We are currently running the game at absolutely ultra settings, highest everything, and my logic behind that is I'm not going to sit here and try to run the game at high settings or very high settings or some weird mixture like that, because if you're spending, you know, $700, $800, $900 to $1,500 on a graphics card alone, along with like, you know, $400, $500, $600, $700, $800 on a CPU, you're probably going to want to run every game at the highest setting. Like, that's just probably your mentality. That's my mentality. That's why I'm running this game at Ultra. It's because I am that person. I am that person that wants to run every game at the highest settings because I pay for the best stuff. So we are currently running the game at absolute ultra settings. We'll be testing out 1080p, but also we'll be doing some 4K numbers in here as well. We will also be messing with some of the DLSS as well as on 4K to show you guys how well DLSS will save you in this game. And we will also be turning on and off ray tracing as well for the people out there who just want, like, they don't really want to mess with ray tracing just yet. They feel like it's still kind of not yet worth it. So we'll be turning that off to see how well that goes. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into the game. All right, there you guys have it. We are now in game, running at absolute maximum settings, at only a 1080p, mind you. This is a 1080p, and granted, I have an older CPU, so it's going to be a little bit less than what you would get if you had something like a 3950X, or severely lower than I would hope you would be getting with a 5950X, the newest of the new, coming out in a few days as of the recording of this video. But honestly, I'm not gonna lie. It's a smooth 40 FPS. It really doesn't seem that bad. It's playable. I wouldn't really want to play on this, but I could see somebody who is getting 30 to 40 FPS and they wouldn't complain. I really could see someone doing this. But mind you, this is the typical Ubisoft game where if you're standing still, not really doing anything, you get better FPS than when you're driving. So let's see how driving goes. Alright, so we're getting about 30 to 35 FPS while driving here. And while that's bad, I will admit, yes, that is not great, but it's again a smooth 30 FPS. So while I would, you know, of course want more than 35 FPS while I'm playing a game like this on hardware like a 3080, it's at least a smooth 30 FPS, which is definitely, I guess, the least you could expect. The least you could expect is a smooth 30 FPS. Ooh, that's a nice car. I want that car. You should give me your car. I require your car. It's so sexy. Alright. But yeah, not bad. We can start driving in and crashing and making a bunch of physics and sparking all over the place and wrecking stuff and see how much it drops so you guys can experience it in all of its awesomeness. But again, there are people out there who are just not very interested in ray tracing. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we are going to go into the video section and we're going to just turn off ray tracing, keeping it at 1080p, all the ultra settings and stuff like that, but just no ray tracing, and see how much that actually benefits your performance here. So again, standing still. When I look away from NPCs and stuff, I'm at like the 50s or 60s, and when I'm facing towards things, it is, yeah. So it definitely has a weird bottleneck somewhere. I'm assuming it's a CPU bottleneck. This game seems very CPU demanding given how much AI and stuff is around with all the drones and the physics simulation and all that stuff like that. Definitely seems like it's going to be CPU bottlenecked. But ray tracing does not seem to be adding a lot to the actual... Ooh, I want your car's identical to mine, but better. Give me your car, thanks. So if you were expecting to turn off ray tracing and get suddenly 60 FPS, I have bad news for you. That's not the case with this game. This game is just extremely beefy, extremely taxing. Of course, I have to reiterate, I am on a 6-year-old processor, so it might be better for someone who has something like a 3900X, 3950X, or upcoming, you know, 39 or the 5950X, or, you know, 10900K or something like that. Like, it's gonna be better with a new CPU, but I don't expect by much. I would assume with those you'd get maybe 45 to 50 FPS while driving, so definitely a bonus of 5 to 15 FPS extra, but not much. Really not much. At least that's what I'm expecting. I could be proven totally wrong. But that's this game in 1080p. Let's go ahead and switch on over to 4K. Let's see how that goes. Oop, wrong menu here. Go ahead and do 4K, and we will get back to you guys in just a second. I'm going to go ahead and close the game down and reopen it in 4K, so that way we can remove any potential bottlenecks of keeping old files in RAM or anything like anything, just to play it safe. I'm going to turn it to 4K, restart the game, resize the overlay in the top left corner so you guys can actually read it at 4K. One of my pet peeves of YouTubers that do stuff like this is when they don't resize their overlay so you can barely see it at all. They can see it just fine, but you can't because, yeah, you may not be on 4K. So I'm going to resize that for you guys. We'll be back here in just like a minute. Alright guys, we are back. I have set the game to 4K, I have restarted the game, and I have resized the overlay in the top left corner, so you guys can actually read what we are actually getting. We are still at the ultra settings here. We are still maxed out absolutely with ray tracing on ultra and everything like that. So let's go ahead and jump back into the game here. Alright, we are back in the game here. Running the game at native 4K, ultra settings, DLSS off, and we're getting a bit... Wow, this game is gorgeous. The details on the leaves here, you can see if I go really close to them, you can really see the 4K textures just doing work. The details on the buildings, man, this game is gorgeous. It is absolutely gorgeous, I gotta give them that. But overall, for performance, we are having some little bit of stutters here and there, and I'm assuming that's because we are almost RAM limited, and we are GPU VRAM limited as well. So at least in terms of RAM on a lot of these things, it will be cutting it close. That's for damn sure. But this game is absolutely gorgeous, and not running as bad as I thought it was going to run. Definitely not running as bad as I thought it was going to run on 4K, but that's before we get on this bike here. Sorry, guy. I need this for science. And we start driving away. Again, ray tracing doing work with the reflections on the ground. It's super hard to drive at this low of FPS. Would not recommend. But ray tracing is absolutely stunning here. With the rain making the roads all wet, so it's just constant reflections. It is a beauty. It is a beauty, and I'm sure it's even better looking for you guys watching the video because it is taking a 4K image and downscaling it to my 1080p monitor. So I'm sure it looks even better for you guys in the video. But 20 FPS while driving, let's even speed up and see if we can drop it even further. Alright, we dropped to 19 there for just a brief second. This game is absolutely stunning. And I will... Oh god, ow. Even my death looked gorgeous with ray tracing. I will give this game some credit, though. Even though it's a 20 FPS, it's actually not, like, the worst 20 FPS I've seen. It's a smooth 20. Same with the earlier portions of the video where it was a smooth 30 or 40 FPS. I don't know what he's looking at. He's probably staring at the ray tracing too. I know, right? Isn't the ray tracing just, like, awesome? So it is a smooth 20 FPS. That is something I will say. Alright, so what I want to do now is I then want to see how 4K runs without DLSS, but we have a little bit of a wiggle room because we have ray tracing on Ultra. So 4K without ray tracing, we are now at 40 FPS standing still, 40 to 60, which again, now that it's 60 FPS when I'm not looking at a bunch of stuff, like when I'm just looking at a wall and there's no NPCs or anything that's loading in, 60 FPS is so smooth, and it's going to be amazing if you can get 60 FPS in this game. Oh, it's going to be so smooth and buttery, it's going to be great. But the second you look back towards any kind of people or AI or physics or anything like that, the game just tanks. But without ray tracing, standing completely still, it does look really gorgeous. But let's go ahead and start driving around, actually. Let's start seeing how, without ray tracing, how well this holds up. I'm not gonna lie. This is tolerable. So 4K, no DLSS, and no ray tracing, and this is... I'm being honest here, this is not bad at all. Not bad at all. And imagine this, but with like a better CPU. You know, imagine this with like a 3900X or 3950X or 10900K or the upcoming 5950X. Like, this would be a beaut. 4K, probably like 50 or 60 FPS. This would be a beaut. What is happening here? What? What did they do? That car completely exploded. And that double-decker is, like, trashed. What happened? So I think one of the biggest issues with this game would on a 3080 would be the VRAM. This game uses a lot of VRAM even on 1080p, so I can only imagine what it would be like running this with ray tracing and everything on a 3090 with the 24 gigabytes of VRAM. It would be gorgeous. Just strolling through with the ray tracing on, having all the puddles and stuff activate with the beautiful ray tracing. Oh, it's so gorgeous. Alright, so what I want to do now is I would like to go into these settings here, and we're going to play around a little bit at 4K. So we're going to take the game from ultra ray tracing down to off, and we're going to see what performance DLSS can do. Actually, no, we'll leave ray tracing on for right now. We'll just see what performance DLSS can do at the ultra settings with everything turned on. Let's just see how good DLSS can actually get. Alright, so in terms of the FPS, it's way smoother. It is in the 40s now, almost the 50s. I will be honest that the overall visual quality is going to be different for me than it will be for you guys, simply because my GPU, I'm assuming the performance DLSS makes your graphics card render a 1440p image and then upscales that with AI to 4K. And then because I'm on a 1080p monitor, it is then taking that 4K image and downscaling it back to 1080p. So it looks really kind of odd for me, kind of blurry. Like base 4K looks the same. Or looks better rather. Like base 4K, like native 4K looks way better. This looks kind of bad. Kind of bad. I would rather just play in native 4K and turn off DLSS than play with this. But not bad though. I'm assuming it'll look better in the recording for you guys than it does for me. So, oh, there was a collision issue there. They went through each other for a second. But let's go ahead and see what it looks like when we're actually driving. When we're in motion, how well does DLSS hold up? How well does our frame rate stack up against this? Honestly, not bad at all. Not bad at all. And of course, it might look better for you guys in the recording than it does for me right now, simply because, like I said, it's downscaling all of that AI goodness down to 1080p, and it's looking really weird. Not bad at all. Let's go ahead and check out the Ultra Performance DLSS mode. Because if you're getting, 20 FPS and 4K, I feel like you're not going to go for that quality mode or the balanced mode. You're going to go for something that's going to give you the best performance. So let's see what Ultra Performance does for us. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. So for me, I don't know how it's going to look in the recording for you guys or in the final YouTube version because of the compression. For me, it's very blurry. Very blurry. I don't know what resolution it's upscaling from anymore. I will say it isn't absolutely awful. It's just very blurry. So if it's going from like 720p or 1080p up to 4K, then it is doing a good job. Because it's not unplayable visually. Like, it does look like, if you're not really, I just don't know how this would look on a 4K TV. Like, it's looking blurry for me. I can only imagine a 4K TV. So I don't know. And you're only getting like 30 FPS as well. So it's like performance runs better. Like the regular performance mode runs better. And especially if we start driving. We're gonna drop down into the 20s, yeah. Like mid 20s there. 26 FPS was the lowest I saw it go. Yeah, that's not great. I'm not gonna lie, that is not great at all. Okay, so the final test that I want to run is I want to get a little weird with it. So we're gonna go back to, let's see, we're gonna go to performance mode. Now we're just gonna use native 4K actually. We're gonna go native 4K, no DLSS. We're going to turn the headlight shadows down to 2 cars instead of 4 cars to really save on some of the VRAM and some of the other stuff like that. We're going to change just that. Just not even really sacrificing much. Just no ray tracing and cutting back a little bit on the headlight shadows, but still keeping it pretty absolutely maximum. That seems like a fair trade. Let's see what this runs in 4K. So already I can see a massive improvement. Like a massive improvement over DLSS Ultra Performance. Like this game looks like crisp and clear again. Even for me at 1080p on my monitor, like it is doing a fantastic job scaling that back down for me. Like it is doing amazing work. And of course, standing still, we're in the, that mid 30s section, almost 40s. Just standing still, ray tracing doing work, making these cars look absolutely gorgeous as all the reflections come off of them and stuff like that. And again, it is raining, so we are having the best time to test out ray tracing as well. Oh no, I think we have ray tracing off. Damn, these are just good reflections then. Okay, so then just GG to you guys for having good reflections. I think we have ray tracing off, don't we? Yeah, we have ray tracing off. Those are just good reflections. Alright then. Well, dang. So you totally could live without ray tracing in this game. Especially if that's your make or break between like a smooth experience or a smooth 60 FPS or something like that. Like, you could totally live without ray tracing. The reflections are really good in this game. So I'm not gonna lie, one of the things that has me worried a little bit is that I should have restarted the game in between DLSS modes, because maybe there's something in the memory being clogged, or like it's not swapping out files that it should have swapped out or something like that. We might be getting RAM locked, so what I might do is I might keep it exactly as it is and just restart the game and see how that goes. Just to really just to give this game the benefit of the doubt that maybe it's just like having an issue swapping out files from memory or something like that. Like just maybe. So just bear with me for just a quick second. We're going to close the game and reopen it and just go from there. And oh my god, this game is gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Alright guys, we are back in this game. We are back after that quick little restart, and we are still running 4K. We are still running 2 cars for the headlight shadows, and we still have, I think, yeah, we still have no ray tracing on it, no DLSS, but everything else is maxed out. And how do you vault over? A? There it is. Yeah. Alright, so as I expected, or as I suspected rather, we were having a little bit of like a bottleneck in some kind of memory thing. Now that I have restarted and have cleared out the memory that I was using, we're getting anywhere between like mid 40s to in the 50s with 2 headlight shadows on and no ray tracing at 4K. That's pretty good, actually. That's pretty good. I'm not going to lie. That is impressive. And the game still doesn't lose any real, like, visual fidelity. You missed out on the ray tracing, right? But, I mean, the reflections in this game, I thought there was ray tracing. That's how good the reflections are. Like, I thought this game, like, I forgot I turned off ray tracing. So, like, wow, this is still a really good experience. For a 6-year-old processor, it's putting in work. I could only imagine what you would get if you did this on, like, a new day processor, like a brand new thing. Oh my god, you'd get, like, solid 60 in this game. It'd be amazing. It'd be totally playable as this. I am very shocked. This was a much better turnout than I thought it was going to be. Man, this game is gorgeous. Looking at the London architecture, oh my god. It is so gorgeous. Let's go ahead and just take this car. Let's go get this one. Let's get in this car, and let's just go vroom vroom speedy fast. Okay, apparently I picked the Priuses of all the cars. So it's not going as fast as I want, but it's also really testing, like, we're now in the mid-30s while driving. So you do drop back down to the mid-30s when you're driving in this setting, but I cannot stress it enough that even though you're in the mid-30s, if you have something on like VSync or not VSync, G-Sync or FreeSync or one of those things, it'll help so much, because I have the FreeSync turned on my monitor that I have. And it is really smooth. It's a smooth 35 FPS. So there's no like little hiccups, there's no little judders or anything like that. Like, it's not doing anything bad. It's a smooth 35. It's actually, honestly, I feel like this is more playable than any console 30 FPS I've experienced. So to close out this 4K test, ray tracing back on, everything at ultra, driving down the street, it is looking beautiful. Stuttering. Hard to drive at this 20 FPS with these minimal micro stutters, but we're making do. I think that's probably the biggest thing about this game, is that you probably will be VRAM locked. Like, the 3080 only having 10 gigs of VRAM will not be the greatest thing for this game, because it is really flexing that 10 gigs, and I'm sure it would probably be running an extra 5 or 10 FPS because of the extra VRAM, so. But not bad. Not bad at all. But, this game is gorgeous, man. Native 4K, full max settings, no DLSS or anything. Even though it is 20 FPS, it is still absolutely beautiful. 100%. Absolutely beautiful. But, yeah, let's go ahead and switch back to the 1080p mode now. Let's go back and switch to the 1080p mode. I'm going to resize the UI, the overlay in the top left corner. I'm going to restart the game, so that way we have, yet again, no like VRAM bottlenecking or any RAM bottlenecking. Nothing is getting stuck in the RAM sections. And I'll be right back in just a second, guys. Alright, so we are back in game, and we are back in 1080p, back in the 40 FPS range. It looks super crisp for me again. I'm not sure how it's going to look for you guys after changing the resolution in Shadowplay 3 times, but hopefully the recording still looks nice and good for you guys. I'm not sure how it's going to do that, actually, how it's going to go from starting at 1080p, switching to 4K, and then back to 1080p, but I guess it'll be a fun adventure. So we're back in this game, just, yeah, it's, I guess in short, Like, the game is beautiful. The game runs like butt, though. So I guess it's up to you guys whether or not it's worth just turning the game down to 1080p on a 4K monitor, because I don't know if I'd play this game at 4K 20 FPS with the performance mode on. Like, I don't know if that'd be worth it. So I'll leave it up to you guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. This was super interesting, seeing how this game would run not only at 4K, but 4K on a 6-year-old processor combined with a 3080. And again, this game is just gorgeous in general, so it's amazing. I'm liking the visuals. I wish the performance was higher, but yeah. Once again, guys, thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for hanging out. If you guys enjoyed the video, feel free to do the YouTube stuff like liking and commenting and subscribing and stuff like that. And I will see you guys in the next video. Take care, guys.